So that's Zilliken's just over the first fence. They've got 7 obstacles to complete each. Now we've got some new horses here today. There's a few that will be repeated from the women's relay yesterday and some fresh ones. So it'll be interesting to see how the boys find this course and find the horses that we've got here in Poland.
Well, we actually see the sun today, so it's going to be, it'll dry out the ground a little bit, and it'll make for a much more pleasant ride, I think.
I think it makes it more pleasant for everybody.
Sure. Zilken's over fence number 8, and he's handing off to teammate Stefan Kollner. Stefan wearing the very distinctive German military uniform, German Army uniform. Clear over 2.
And these athletes will be looking for a good experience in the riding. They are a long way off the lead at the moment, with the equivalent of 1 minute and 32 seconds behind the leaders. So they'll be just looking to get experience and enjoy the rest of their relay competition today.
Well, and Heather, as you notice, there's 17 teams in this competition. Once we get through the first 3 teams, Germany being the first of these 3 teams, you get right into the meat. We have 14 teams within 39 seconds of each other, so this is going to be a very close competition. And Germany goes clean, and they're going to need that.
Yeah, I think however badly everybody else rides, they would need some miracle to be able to climb up the ladder board. But very nice to see a clear round to start us off for the riding event here in the men's relay competition at this World Championships.
And they've got to feel good about that. You know, as they prepare for the men's individual, they have an opportunity to get on the course, get out and get on the local horses. Again, these horses are primarily from the Pentathlon community, which are the 2 primary training centers. Jankow is Poland, which is near Zielona Góra, and then of course Warsaw. And then the the horses, I'm sorry, that are in addition to that are private stables in the Warsaw area. And clearly they have enough horses to switch out virtually the entire lineup from yesterday.
Yeah, it's good to see that, because it is a long week for the athletes and for the horses. There won't be any riding in the next couple of days during the semi-finals, but then we have a women's final on Friday, the men's final on Saturday, and then the mixed relay on Sunday. So it's a lot of jumping for these horses. The ground at the moment is nice and soft, so not too jarring, but it is still quite a lot for them to complete. So it's good that we've got a good spectrum of horses and a big pool that can be chosen from. So next in the arena we've got the Mexican team of Manuel Padilla and Sal Rivera. Just saluting, and now they're heading into the start box.
So it looks like Padilla, Manuel Padilla will be our first horse on course for Mexico. He'll be riding Atletico. Again, Padilla is one of the great rising stars in the sport. He just came out of the junior program, an extraordinary combined athlete. Great runners. That's typical of the Mexicans. Clear over 1.
Now it'll be interesting to see if the men have that little bit of extra control today compared to the women. These male athletes obviously are naturally stronger than the women, but sometimes that can actually result in the horses going faster if they don't realise how strong their legs are.
Sure. Oh, that was a awkward slip there. Pull the rail, 7 points, which equates to 7 seconds. It's 1 point per second. And clear over 8. So we have 1 rail down, the first rider.
I think we had an earlier rail before that last one.
Did he? Oh, I missed that.
I'm pretty sure we're on 14 points at the moment that they've just lost.
Well, that's not going to help them. We're getting a good look at the new Peugeot car out there in the middle of the course. Big sponsor of the event.
I think they're doing well enough as it is without us mentioning them.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a faster round than his teammate. Whether that's intentional or not, I'm not entirely sure.
Sal Rivera in the saddle for Mexico. Clubhouse turn, 2 fences remaining. and 8, and he's back in the box, and that wraps it up for Mexico. And I think you're right, Heather. I think we have 2 rails down.
Just collecting himself there, lost a stirrup on his way into the box. But as I've mentioned before, there is no points for style. It's about getting around inside the time allowed without any errors.
It's not unlike show jumping. You know, there's no style points in show jumping either. It's get between the red and white flags any way you can.
So now we see entering the arena the Guatemalan team.
You notice the gentleman in the orange, I'm sure I'm wrong on my cover, salmon sweater back there, Olaf Pettersson, one of the great course designers in the world, out of Germany. Which brings us, this course was designed by a former pentathlete, former Polish pentathlete, who spent a lot of time in front of the silver screen. In his spare time, he's a movie actor and very involved in the Polish equestrian program. So we've got Guatemala on course. Charlie Fernandez, or is that Georgi? Well, the team clearly is. We've got Charles Fernandez and Andre Georgi. Let's see if we get a better picture. I think it is Charlie. Fernandez for Guatemala has actually spent a fair amount of time riding, but on a side note, he's a very interesting young man. His father's a missionary, and he travels to some of the most difficult, hard-hit places on the planet to help people. So he's a fine young man, and I noticed his father here in the stands, clear over 7.
Interesting line you took into 7 there. Went inside fence number 2, which is the first time I've seen anyone ride that line.
Yeah.
Maybe they think that time is an issue here. Because he would have saved a few seconds by that, opting for that shortcut.
Andre Georgi from Guatemala, his teammate on course. You know, and Andre's father is actually the British men's coach, Marion Georgi. Marion Georgi, the father of Andre, who's on the course right now, built the Guatemalan program, was there for a number of years, and really developed fine Guatemalan athletes. And Guatemala is actually a team to contend with because of it, and as a result, he's now the British men's coach.
Well, we like to keep the best.
You find the talent.
Well, Guatemala will be pleased. This round's going nicely so far, just 2 fences to go, and making up for the girls' performance yesterday, the Guatemalan pairing.
Oh, look, and he's clean.
Didn't have such a successful round, so that's great to see that Guatemala have had a strong ride here today.
And now I think it's fair to say that we've gotten through the first 3 teams, which were, again, Germany, Mexico, and Guatemala, and now the competition starts. These next 14 teams over the remainder of the first round and all of the second round are all within 39 seconds of each other in the overall score. So again, if they drop 1 fence, that's 7 points or 7 seconds. And should they have a refusal or a stop on course, disobedience, that's 10. So everything that happens out here is absolutely critical.
It's really nice to see the Guatemalans celebrating. They're very proud of their ride, and yes, they might be out of contention of the medals here today, but still it means a lot. It's the World Championships, and a great respect they've got for such a big competition, and it's wonderful to see that they are still fighting right the way through to the end, and pleased with that.
I just can't get over.
Ride.
I can't get over how beautiful the parkour is and the environment is relative to how it's been over the last few days with all the cloud cover, just a gray environment, and now it's just bright and sunny. It changes everything.
It's perfect atmosphere and weather for the athletes. Actually, it's not too hot, so they're not going to be getting too dehydrated or sweaty during their warm-up in the riding arena, and the horses as well. It's not quite as fatiguing for them, but it's a little bit warmer than yesterday, so athletes won't be having to worry about keeping warm.
We have a big entry here. We've got Poland, the host country of these World Championships, have just entered the arena. Our first rider on course is going to be Golis, wearing the Polish military uniform. Remkes Golis and his teammate Simon Staszkiewicz.
And Poland will be hoping to move their way up through the rankings at the moment. Currently lying down in 14th, but as we said, all to play for and in front of the home crowd.
Ooh, that's a 10-point penalty there. Refusal on fence number 3.
He just started to back off coming into that fence, and the horse wasn't quite sure what the rider was asking, and at the last minute said, no, I can't do this.
That's really unfortunate for the host country here. They had really high hopes. You're right, even though they were lying in 14. Any of these top 14 teams are really, every one of them is in contention. The points are that close. That's going to hurt them.
It's going to be extra disappointing for them in front of the home crowd, but also these horses are quite likely to be familiar to the Polish athletes, so it puts that added pressure on them.
Certainly a large percentage of them are, and if they get any kind of luck on the draw. There we go.
He just thought about it again, the horse, but luckily the rider was there ready with his legs and wasn't going to make the same mistake twice.
There's 4 fences on course that are pretty darn close to identical, so hopefully he doesn't have that problem again. The course layout is, oxer to vertical, and just repeats itself. Oxer vertical, all through the 8 fences. Over 7. Yeah.
Oh, and he pushed on for a long one and got him in a little bit of trouble, but Golis completed the course and handed over to his teammate.
Simon Staskiewicz.
It's an interesting line in there. Looks like Staskiewicz has lost his stirrup and was struggling to keep the horse straight, but
he's trying to pick it up.
He's unfortunately not quite gained his composure in time for fence 3, and he's now having a few issues.
This is disappointing round for the hometown crowd here. He still hasn't picked that stirrup up.
He hasn't. No, it'd be interesting to see if he rides it anyway.
And
a nice
we've got a
dismount out the side door there. He'd lost his stirrup, didn't quite have his balance, and the horse knew it and took that easy option out to the side.
He had nothing to support himself. Without the stirrup, there's no way to stay in the saddle. Hopefully that's a lesson learned, to stop and pick up your stirrup if you need to.
Having said that, he cleared the fence before it perfectly easily, and you can see the balance riders can complete without their stirrups, but he obviously isn't quite as relaxed in the saddle as some athletes, and needs both stirrups to support him and keep his balance.
I don't think anybody wants to run through a course without their stirrups. They've got
definitely not favourable, but maybe even less so for the men.
And he's going to what he wants to do is get out of this, and he's done.
No, that was a bit of damage limitation at the end there for the Polish team, and yeah, the crowd and both of those athletes will not be impressed with themselves after that performance.
We had a total of 84 penalties. We had 44 jumping penalties and 40 time penalties. 84. That's 84 points, 84 seconds. That's a minute and a half almost.
Yeah, we've just seen the Polish remove themselves from the competition, basically.
That's right.
They're no longer in contention for those medal positions, which even though down in 14th before the ride, they still were.
You hate to see that happen to any team, but when it's the host country's team and they've put so much effort to create a great world championships, it's doubly disappointing. Next in the arena, we've got the team from Russia.
Very smart in their red jackets. But these horses, again, 2 chestnuts. I think they'd entered for a pairs competition here with their matching uniform and their matching horses.
Right down to the matching boots. Isn't that interesting? Both horses have a white sock on their hind right. Just missing the blaze.
He is.
So we have from Russia, what do we have here? We have Maxim Kustov, and we have Igor Puchkareski, the team from Russia, the 2 athletes. And Maxim Kustov's going to be the first rider in the arena for Russia.
And both these horses are looking quite fresh on their entrance into the arena, so it'll be interesting to see how the Russians control them. The Russians do have a tendency to ride very forwards and with quite a lot of speed, so it'll be interesting to see if they can keep under control and stop those poles from being knocked.
Clear over 2. Got a lot of height.
This horse looks like he's capable of jumping much higher than these fences.
Maximum height in pentathlon jumping, of course, is 1.20 meters. This is a relay event, second day of the competition. Of course, these ironers have the ability to adjust the course heights from one day to another. We'll see if they make adjustments after today.
Well, this horse is certainly not risking putting his feet anywhere near those poles, and a clear round that was for the first round of this team.
So on course now you have Igor Puchkareski. He's going to try to go clean, and again, all of these, any rider that comes into the arena at this point has a chance for the medals. The podium is within reach for any team.
It's nice to see Puchkareski seeing a good stride there. He held the horse and really prepared him for those 2 fences, and with that related distance it really paid off. The second fence just came very naturally.
And there's 3 lines like that, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8.
I'm very impressed with the control of this round. The horses were looking very fresh beforehand, as I said, and
He set him up
pleasantly surprised by this. It's
that was well ridden.
Very tidy round.
Very well ridden. And the score is going to show it. Clean round for Russia, and keeps them in the hunt for the medals.
That was a very important round for them, and they cannot now drop any further, so they will remain at the very most 36 seconds off the lead, and that is only if all the other teams go clear.
Which is not the most likely thing in the world. The horses' names again for Russia, we had Bubka Z and Christo.
So that was, just to confirm, a full 300 points, and they have lost no points. That's the maximum you can score in the riding event.
So keep those names in mind, Bubka Z and Christo. You're going to see those horses again in the second round. I like those horses. So we have the team from Great Britain in the arena.
I think I might be scared to commentate on this one after our disappointing performance in the riding yesterday, and it all seemed to be starting so well. I might leave this one up to you.
Well, you have Thomas Toulis and James Cook. Toulis will be riding Kakan, and Cook will be riding Quicksilver. Quicksilver we remember from yesterday. I think had some good rounds. So Toulis is in the arena first. This is Thomas Toulis coming to the first fence. And he looks fine. He looks well in hand, like he's done this before.
Now for Tom, it's one of his first senior competitions, and to get the chance to ride is a great opportunity for him in the relay, because he's still, very new to it, and it's unlikely at the moment to quite make a men's final, and he is actually only competing in the relay at this World Championships. We've got some other boys coming out for the individual, so it's great for him to have this opportunity to ride at a senior level.
And just a little rub there on fence number 6, but the rail stays up. Last 2 jumps, Oxer over 7.
Nice soft hands there.
8. So clean round for Tom Toulis and James Cook, the Olympian, wearing the Team GB riding jacket. Very well known for those who watch the London Games.
Now Jamie works very hard at his riding, and something that he has really improved on over the years, and
he set him up nicely.
Yeah, he's got nice soft hands over the fence, and sometimes the men, being that bit stronger, sometimes forget to give and let the horse really flex over the jump, and that's when you end up with the knockdowns. And so far Jamie's setting this up perfectly, and
again rubbing on number 6.
Fence 6 often gets a rattle.
Well,
it must be the striding isn't quite natural for these horses.
It's a bowed line, and so it depends on the angle that the riders are approaching. So they're obviously getting
yes,
and clean on
and
Nate.
a brilliant ride for Great Britain. Now I can talk.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great to see. And the boys had a very strong swim. They finished actually in fourth, but only a few seconds off the lead. And to confirm, that 300 points for
Perfect round
for the British team.
So Russia's gone clean. Now Great Britain's gone clean. So
Basically now
can
it's
finish no worse than where they are.
So currently Great Britain hold their place in 12th, and that's 32 seconds off the lead, and they can only move up the leaderboard as errors get made ahead of them if we see any throughout this riding.
And 12th sounds like it's far down the leaderboard, but in fact 32 seconds out of first is in this sport is virtually nothing. It's very, very little.
Yeah, it really is. And
now look at these two guys coming in the arena here. Now you talk about some smart dressed men. You have the team from the United States. You have Sergeant Dennis Bowser. I love it when I see U.S. military guys riding in, and it's unique to pentathlon where you wear the military uniforms. And it just reminds me of every cowboy movie I've ever watched, with the cavalry. Those are blue jackets and white breeches. They just look sharp. So you've got Sergeant Dennis Bowser and Private Nathan Scrimshire for the United States. It looks like Nathan will be the first rider on course for Team USA. He's from Roswell, New Mexico, and has spent a lot of time on horses out there in the West.
Looks like he's got his work cut out here. Just the horse, just fighting with him a little bit on the approach to the fences. He's struggling to get him to listen, but just in time to make it to fence 3.
And the horse very nearly didn't pay attention there. Nathan needs to get out of his face a little bit, and we'll see. Again, this is about a marriage, right? I mean, these are horses that they draw the horse, and it's a marriage between the horse and rider, and some marriages work and some marriages don't. And it looks like Nate is having his hands full, but he's managing quite well.
He's keeping it moving forwards, and that's the most important thing when you've got a horse that's fussing with you like that, and he just needs to
you're crow hopping number 7, and he's clean. He manages to get through clean. So Dennis Bowser, his teammate on course, Sergeant Bowser. And I'm looking for and there's Dennis. And Dennis is from Dallas, Texas, and he is probably from the senior team. He's spent the least amount of time on horseback.
You can see that with his seat. He's just not quite as secure as the others. He's bouncing up and down during the canter, and as long as the horse keeps going forwards, he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's had to work very hard to even get where he is here in the riding event, but he's got a nice little rhythm.
He's not interfering, that's the main thing, letting the horse relax. And
he's staying out of the way. And the USA is clear.
Wow, this is looking like
it
could all come down to the combined event if it stays like this.
You know, and I didn't think we'd have clean rounds for everybody, but goodness, we have had Russia clean, Great Britain clean, United States clean, 300 ports for Team USA, horses on Warwick and Russlin. Want to remember those names because you'll see those horses again.
Now those teams who'll be riding in the second round will be relieved to have seen a few of these horses, knowing that they've got them to ride again, and having seen them do perfect rounds. As an athlete, it's always good to know that you're getting on a horse that has got a good track record, and it's yours to lose. Then you've got no excuses.
And historically, second round scores tend to be slightly higher than first round scores, but so yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of athletes that are breathing a sigh of relief. So the next team on course in the arena is going to be the team from Ukraine, and that'll be Pavlo Kurpolansky and Alexander Morozov. They'll be riding Guardiana. Kurpolansky will be up on Guardiana, and Morozov will be riding Blackjack. Now don't forget the political issues you've got in the Ukraine at the moment, and I know that it affects these guys' training and their ability to frankly move about the country. I've talked to the coaches. In fact, the team just arrived. So I think they've done quite well under very difficult circumstances.
Interesting. They seem to be taking the longer route round to the salute.
You get to see more jumps that way. Pavlo Kurpolansky will be the first rider for Team Ukraine on course. And he's riding Guardiana. He's a big boy. He's quite tall. Difficult for the taller guys. They have to lower their center of gravity. You tend to do that by leaning forward.
On the other hand, they do have their long legs to help with the balance, and I know that coming from a riding background, my mum has got very short legs and always complains about she wished she was taller, so
it's a trade-off. I was one of the tall guys, and you learn to ride a little hunched over.
I learned how to roll my stirrups because there were never enough holes to go short enough.
Well, they're doing well. He's clear over 7 and approaching 8 and clear over 8. For Kurpolansky, he's passing off to his teammate Alexander Morozov up on blackjack.
Oh, and
ooh, look at this.
That was interesting. He decided to carry on going forwards, even though from one stride out with no impulsion he wasn't going to get over the first fence. But the horse just not willing to leave the... They've got the warm-up arena behind them. The other horse has come into the box behind them, and it's that first fence is crucial to really get your horse moving and come out of the box going forwards.
Right, put your leg on and show them you mean business. I think he was... One could always wish, right? He was going to crow hop that. It's amazing what a horse can do from a standstill, though.
Well, these jumps for these horses aren't too challenging. These look very nice horses we've seen so far, and I think they'll be more than capable of clearing a good 10-20 centimetres higher.
And you got behind, you have a pulled rail on 7. So he has a stop and a rail. So considering how great the scores are,
that's costly.
That's very costly.
That would have just put the teams we've seen clear leapfrogging ahead of Ukraine.
17 jumping faults, so penalties, and that's 17 seconds.
Seconds, exactly.
How everything equates to the times in the combined. And that's for our viewers who are unfamiliar with pentathlon. This is all about scoring points, all about trying to be as close to the start or the leading team that when they combine, when the race, when the gun goes off and you run to the shooting. It's all about that. So every mistake is
Well, I would have
costly.
seen Ukraine drop. They were in 10th position. They would have dropped down below America, Great Britain and Russia. So they'll now be down in 14th. And not only the placing, it's more the fact that they are pretty much out of touch with the time penalties they'll have at the start of the combined event.
It's still amazing how close all these teams are. So the next team in the arena is the last team for the first round. There's 2 rounds of riding today. The last team of the first round is going to be the team from Kazakhstan. And that's going to be Andrei Soldatov and Vladislav Sukarev. Soldatov's up on Amero, and Sukarev will be riding La Dauphine. Be pretty easy to tell these horses apart.
We should be able to.
They've really got some beautiful animals here.
So the athletes just entering the start box, they'll have the bell, and then from the start of the bell they've got 30 seconds on which to leave the box and start the course.
And following this round, there'll be a slight break while they switch to to round 2, the second round of the riding. And here's our first rider. That's Andrei Soldatov on Herrero, and he's got to stop on the second fence. He just he goes to the whip.
Just took the hands off the reins to really show who means business, and got it back under control just in time there.
I suspect he'll be okay for the rest of the round.
But no doubt Soldatov will be cursing himself for not riding stronger into that fence.
Absolutely.
Completely unnecessary. The horse just was testing the rider, and the rider wasn't ready.
And it cost him 10 points, 10 seconds. Ooh, he rode right into that.
He didn't see that stride at all, just kept the leg on, so the horse didn't have the opportunity of stopping, but got the 7 penalties instead.
He's got to stop, so I think fence number 6, which is the red and white, definitely disrupted the flow here. And he's got him through. I think he's just glad to be done.
And that's again at this close stage at
No, everything.
before the riding. It's Kazakhstan. Even if they go clear now with this second round, they've lost their opportunity to fight for podium in the combined event later.
So Vladislav Sukharev riding Le Dauphine. And you're going to see Herrero again later in the day. Actually, for the first place ranked team will be Belarus. Will be riding Herrero. So you'll see these horses again. They're certainly watching very closely. They're riding that's a bowed line, and they're coming to the inside, and they're losing the distance. They need to go to the outside and add the distance, and they're coming in too tight and give the horse no chance. Yeah, they give the horse no chance. It walks very nicely, you know, to the outside. And
this is the difficulty these athletes have. They each have 20 minutes in which to get to know their horse. They've walked the course beforehand, but it's very difficult to know how long striding your horse is going to be until you're actually on it and in the arena. So they do have to adapt as they go, and it's very much a skill you learn with riding in pentathlon.
It cost them 37 points and 37 seconds, and basically, for all intents and purposes, their podium shot is over. Now we're going to have a slight break, and we'll be coming back for round 2 of the men's riding for the men's relay event here at the World Championships from Warsaw, Poland.
Cut to us.
I